Recently, I've found myself reflecting deeply on the profound challenge of surrendering every part of our lives to God. There was a season when I believed I had let go completely, only to discover that my grip remained tight, fueled by fear of what might happen if I truly entrusted everything into His care. If this resonates with you, if your heart longs for complete trust but feels held back by hesitation, know this: you are not alone. Together, we will journey through this truth, and by the end, it will feel just a little lighter. Pause now, take a breath, and picking up the same weight mere moments later. This struggle is universal, but today we're uncovering what it means to let go without reservation, to trust Him fully, even when His plan defies our expectations. Let's turn to one of Scripture's most profound lessons on relinquishing control. The parable of the vineyard owner from Matthew 20. This story carries timeless wisdom for anyone wrestling with the tension between trusting God and clinging to self-reliance. As we unpack its layers, my prayer is that you'll gain clarity on how to release your burdens and embrace His divine timing, even when it doesn't align with your vision. To set the stage, this parable unfolds at a pivotal moment in Jesus' ministry. By this point, He has shared numerous teachings with His disciples, but this particular lesson stands apart. It begins with a vineyard owner heading to the marketplace at dawn to hire workers. He agrees to pay them a denarius, the standard wage, and sends them off to labor in his fields. So far, so fair, right? But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The vineyard owner returns repeatedly throughout the day, at 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and even as late as 5 p.m., with your vision. To set the stage, this parable unfolds at a pivotal moment in Jesus' ministry. By this point, He has shared numerous teachings with His disciples, but this particular lesson stands apart. It begins with the vineyard owner heading to the marketplace at dawn to hire workers. He agrees to pay them a denarius, the standard wage, and sends them off to labor in his fields. So far, so fair, right? But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The vineyard owner returns repeatedly throughout the day, at 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and even as late as 5 p.m. to hire additional workers. Each time he assures them they'll receive fair compensation. As evening falls and it's time to settle accounts, something remarkable happens. The vineyard owner begins paying the workers who were hired last, starting with those who worked only a single hour. To everyone's astonishment, they all receive the same wage, a full denarius, regardless of how long they labored. The workers who had toiled all day grew indignant, feeling unjustly treated. They compared their efforts to those who barely worked yet received equal pay. Gently, the vineyard owner responds, "Friend, I am not being unjust to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am generous?" The parable concludes with a striking reminder, so the last will be first, and the first will be last. Now, what does this ancient tale reveal about letting go and entrusting our lives to God? Let's explore its depths together. The first lesson lies in embracing the reality that God's ways transcend human logic. When the early workers saw the latecomers receive the same reward, they felt cheated, not because they were shortchanged, but because their perspective was clouded by comparison. Similarly, we often resist surrendering control because we believe we know best. We measure outcomes against our expectations, forgetting that God's plans operate on a higher plane. Imagine holding tightly to a burden, a worry, a dream, or a sense of justice, only to realize that His generosity knows no bounds. Just as the vineyard owner acted faithfully and generously, God's blessings may not always look the way we envision, but they are always precisely what we need at the perfect time. A second profound insight emerges from the worker's envy. Their dissatisfaction stemmed not from injustice, but from comparing themselves to others. How often do we cling to doubt or fear because we're fixated on someone else's blessings? True surrender demands releasing envy and trusting in God's unique design for each of us. What He provides to another doesn't diminish His ability to pour out abundance upon you. Finally, this parable teaches us the essence of surrender. It's not merely about relinquishing control, but about embracing radical trust. Trusting that God's wisdom surpasses our understanding and that His plans are always for our good, even when they defy logic. Today, take that bold step of faith. Whisper those life-changing words, "I trust you completely, Lord." Let them mark the beginning of a new chapter, one where you release your grip and allow God to carry the weight. The workers hired at the 11th hour didn't negotiate terms or demand guarantees. They simply accepted the invitation and trusted the vineyard owner to fulfill his promise. This posture of humility and faith is exactly what surrender looks like. It's not about bargaining or clinging to control. It's about declaring, "Lord, I trust you completely, even when I don't understand." As you meditate on this parable, ask yourself, what in your life needs to be released into God's hands? What burden, fear, or desire are you holding on to, afraid to let go? Remember, His ways are higher than ours. His generosity is limitless, and His plans for you are good. True surrender means trusting His perfect timing, rejecting comparisons, and embracing complete dependence on Him. Only then will you experience the peace and freedom that come from placing everything in His sovereign care. In my own journey, I've learned that trusting God, especially in areas like finances, can feel daunting. It's not just about letting go. It's about partnering with Him in faith. That's why I created the Financial Covenant, a guide designed to help you align your finances with biblical principles rooted in trust and obedience. Even during seasons of scarcity, sowing seeds of faith can unlock doors we couldn't open on our own. Offering God your first fruits, even when resources are limited, is an act of worship that invites His provision into your life. If you feel called to take this step, click the link in the pinned comment below. This could be the moment when everything shifts, not because of the resource itself, but because of the faith and obedience behind your decision. God's promises are steadfast, and His principles endure forever. Here's a truth I've embraced in my own life. It's easier to trust God when progress is visible. But real faith means believing even when the path ahead seems unclear. It's knowing that He is orchestrating all things according to His perfect plan, even when we can't see the bigger picture. The vineyard owner's unconventional choices, returning repeatedly to the marketplace and defying human reasoning, were intentional, just as God's plans for us are deliberate and purposeful. Surrender isn't passive. It's active trust. And in that trust lies the key to experiencing His abundant grace. Picture this. You've poured your heart and soul into a task, working tirelessly from sunrise to sunset, only to witness someone else stroll in at the 11th hour, put in minimal effort, and walk away with the exact same reward. It stings, doesn't it? The unfairness gnaws at us. Yet, isn't this precisely how divine wisdom operates? Beyond our limited understanding, God's methods often confound human reasoning, and His timing dances to a rhythm we can't. Yet here, this paradox is both maddening and awe-inspiring because it reminds us of an undeniable truth. When we surrender something into God's hands, He begins orchestrating miracles behind the scenes, long before we see them unfold. The first step toward genuine surrender lies in accepting that God's ways transcend ours. We crave instant results, tangible progress, or visible evidence that things are moving forward, but God moves on a different timeline, one marked by perfection rather than urgency. Once we internalize this reality, the burden of trying to micromanage life lifts off our shoulders. Trusting him means leaning into faith. Stemmed not from lack. They still had what they agreed upon, but from misplaced expectations. Here's the liberating truth. God meets each of us exactly where we are, providing precisely what we need when we need it. Someone else's blessing has no bearing on yours. In fact, rejoicing in another's good fortune opens your heart wider to receive your own. And then there's grace, that unmerited, breathtaking gift that defies logic. The latecomers in the parable didn't earn their wage. They received it purely out of generosity. Similarly, God showers us with grace in countless ways, in moments of encouragement during our darkest hours. Stemmed not from lack, they still had what they agreed upon, but from misplaced expectations. Here's the liberating truth. God meets each of us exactly where we are, providing precisely what we need when we need it. Someone else's blessing has no bearing on yours. In fact, rejoicing in another's good fortune opens your heart wider to receive your own. And then there's grace, that unmerited, breathtaking gift that defies logic. The latecomers in the parable didn't earn their wage. They received it purely out of generosity. Similarly, God showers us with grace in countless ways, in moments of encouragement during our darkest hours, in scripture that feels written just for us, or in the quiet strength to persevere when quitting feels inevitable. Grace walks beside us, lighting even the dimmest paths and reminding us we're never alone. It whispers, keep going, you're closer. Letting go flies in the face of human instinct. Our natural inclination is to cling tightly to control, fearing chaos if we loosen our grip. Yet, paradoxically, surrender brings peace. When we release our worries, fears, and burdens into God's capable hands, we discover freedom, a profound connection to the One who holds eternity in his grasp. After all, the same God who gave his Son for our salvation can surely handle whatever weight we entrust to him. So now I ask you, what's weighing on your heart today? Is it a persistent worry, a paralyzing fear, or a situation you've been clinging to despite exhaustion? Take a bold step of faith and name it right here. I'd love to hear your story, and I'll share mine too. Together, let's embrace the courage to let go and trust that God is already weaving beauty from the threads of our lives.